already doing deals. Like they're trying to give you a free tire change. They're trying to give you a free car wash and all types of stuff to get out to these games. This is wild. Look at how empty this arena is. Look at how empty it is. The cheapest ticket, $6.
You just heard the viral narrative that took over the internet. The WNBA Finals were a ghost town, and it was all because Caitlin Clark wasn't there. For weeks, the story has been that A'ja Wilson, the league's reigning MVP, was furious, looking out at those empty seats and blaming the one player who could have filled them. But what if that entire story was a lie? What if the media, the fans, and the content creators all pointed their fingers in the wrong direction? Today, we're going to connect the dots and prove that A'ja Wilson's anger was real. But it was never aimed at Caitlin Clark. We'll show you how the WNBA's own leadership created the humiliating optics of a half-empty championship, and how Wilson's frustration was a justified indictment of the commissioner and a marketing strategy that completely collapsed. This is the real story of who A'ja Wilson blames for the WNBA's finals disaster. We go deep on this channel, filtering out the noise to bring you the story behind the story. If you appreciate that kind of investigation, do us a huge favor and hit that like button right now. It tells us we're on the right track and fuels our mission to uncover the narratives the league doesn't want you to see. All right, let's set the scene because the optics were undeniably brutal. The 2025 WNBA Finals, featuring two powerhouse teams in the Las Vegas Aces and the Phoenix Mercury, should have been the league's crowning achievement. Instead, it became a public relations nightmare. While the competitor videos you saw screamed about $6 tickets, our research shows that claim was a viral exaggeration designed to provoke outrage. The truth, however, is almost as damning. Verifiable data from secondary markets like TickPick and StubHub showed get-in prices for the championship games starting in the $35 to $70 range. Let that sink in. A ticket to the highest level of professional basketball, the Championship Series, was available for the price of a couple of movie tickets. For a league that spent an entire year talking about explosive growth and sold-out arenas, that number wasn't just a price point. It was an embarrassment, and the cameras didn't lie. Social media was immediately flooded with panoramic shots of the upper decks, showing vast, gaping holes of empty red seats. Viral posts compared the packed arenas of the regular season for Caitlin Clark's games to the hollowed-out feel of the finals. This is where the frustration from a player like A'ja Wilson begins.
WNBA is in a panic right now. The WNBA higher-ups are panicking. They don't know what's gonna happen. I already let y'all know, I showed y'all the numbers that they was concerned about the playoff ratings and what they will be for the networks. They're concerned about it already. No Caitlin Clark here to carry everybody. They don't know how these numbers are gonna look. Tickets are they're already doing Black Friday sales for playoff tickets. There are teams already doing Black Friday sales.
Now, we have to step into the world of social media speculation here, but it's a critical piece of the puzzle. The moment that lit the fuse was a widely circulated clip where Wilson was allegedly seen shaking her head during warm-ups, muttering in disbelief, "This is the finals." That unverified whisper became a rallying cry online, the ultimate symbol of a champion being let down on her biggest stage. And almost immediately, the internet decided it knew exactly who she was mad at. The internet, as it often does, came to a swift and simple conclusion. The empty seats were a direct result of Caitlin Clark's fans abandoning the league the moment she was eliminated. The logic was brutally straightforward. Clark is the draw, the fans are her fans, and without her, nobody cares. Content creators push this narrative relentlessly, using fan polls and social media sentiment as their proof. It's an easy narrative to fall for, and many of you watching have seen this play out for months. The online discourse has consistently positioned A'ja Wilson as the stoic establishment star, the foil to Caitlin Clark's explosive growth engine. So when Wilson looked visibly upset in a half-empty arena, it was the perfect calm, almost cinematic final scene in that fan-driven drama. The old guard, who supposedly resented the new star's spotlight, was now forced to confront a league that couldn't function without her. The story wrote itself. But is that what was really happening? Before we go any further, let me know in the comments. Did you initially buy into that narrative? Did it seem like Wilson's anger was obviously tied to Clark? Okay, for all the narrative analysts watching, this is the moment where we have to filter out that surface-level noise and look at the strategic reality of a professional athlete. Because the idea that an MVP, a champion, in the middle of a final series is primarily concerned with a rookie who is no longer even in the playoffs. It's not just wrong. It's a fundamental misreading of what drives a competitor at that level. A'ja Wilson's frustration wasn't a tacit admission of Caitlin Clark's drawing power. It was a direct indictment of a league that had failed to do its job. Her anger wasn't aimed at a player, it was aimed at the system, and the proof, the single most important piece of data that every outrage channel conveniently left on the cutting room floor, was a buried headline from the series just before the finals. A headline that changes this entire story. That buried headline, the one that completely unravels the WNBA is nothing without Clark narrative. It comes from the 2025 WNBA semifinals. In a high-drama Achar 5-game series between the Indiana Fever and A'ja Wilson's Las Vegas Aces, a series where Caitlin Clark was sidelined with an injury, the games averaged 1.56 million viewers, setting an all-time viewership record for the WNBA semifinals. Let me repeat that. The most-watched semifinal series in the history of the league happened without the player they claim is the only reason people watch. This is the smoking gun. This is the piece of the puzzle they conveniently hide from you because it complicates their simple, rage-bait narrative. Now that you know this, does it change how you see the finals? Does it change your perception of A'ja Wilson's frustration? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's connect the dots from A'ja Wilson's perspective. She was the star of that record-breaking series. She lived that hype. She knew, firsthand, that a compelling, high-stakes storyline could draw a massive audience with or without Caitlin Clark on the court. So, when she walks into the Michelob Ultra Arena for Game 1 of the WNBA Finals just a week later and sees empty seats and feels no energy, who is she logically going to blame? The rookie who was at home, or the league leadership that had a record-setting wave of momentum and completely failed to ride it into the championship? This is where the real story begins, and it's a story of institutional failure. The problem wasn't the absence of a player, it was the presence of a catastrophic marketing and pricing strategy from the WNBA front office.
Last year, the cheapest ticket available to see the Indiana Fever at the Connecticut Sun in the first round of the 2024 WNBA playoffs, $133. Let's just say it's not near that expensive this year. It's not. So right there, Indiana Fever just had Caitlin Clark cut a WWE promo.
That contrast is staggering. A first-round game with Clark cost fans over $130 a year prior, yet the league's premier championship event couldn't command more than $35 on some nights. This wasn't a market problem, it was a marketing problem. By allowing ticket prices to plummet and failing to create a national narrative around two MVP-caliber stars, Wilson and her opponent Buzz, the league itself devalued its own product. The empty seats weren't a sign of fan apathy towards the players. They were a sign of a complete lack of faith in the league's ability to sell its own championship. That failure to market the finals goes even deeper, and for A'ja Wilson, it's intensely personal. Think about it from her perspective. She's not just any player, she is the face of a franchise, an MVP, and a proven champion. And according to reports, there was a powerful story to be told about her leadership. ESPN itself had published feature coverage detailing how Wilson's locker room messaging and on-court dominance were the central reason the Aces even made it to the finals. The story was right there, gift-wrapped for the league. A reigning MVP willing her team to victory. It's the classic hero narrative that sports are built on. Yet, the league's marketing machine was silent. They had spent so much energy reacting to the Caitlin Clark phenomenon that they completely forgot to build a compelling narrative for their own championship series. Instead of promoting their MVP, they allowed a vacuum to form, which was immediately filled by the only narrative the media seemed interested in telling. That's the exact kind of singular media focus that a competent league office should be working to counterbalance. Instead of creating a competing storyline around their finals MVP, they let the conversation be dominated by a player who wasn't even in the building.
DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and the Mercury in the finals against Asia Wilson and the Aces. Will you be locked in watching this series? ? Yes or no? Hit the poll. 4% of brave souls said yes. 96% said hail to the no. I believe y'all don't care. I think y'all care about the drama around it. I do believe that, but I don't think you care about the events itself. And judging by ticket prices, neither does anybody else.
And as the pressure mounted over the empty seats and bargain bin ticket prices, the response from Commissioner Cathy Engelbert only confirmed where the real problem was. In press conferences, when directly challenged about the disastrous optics, Engelbert's response was described as defensive and tone-deaf. She deflected, blaming scheduling conflicts and the start of the football season rather than acknowledging the league's own failures. When a reporter pressed her on whether the issue was really about how the league mishandled Caitlin Clark's rise and alienated her fans, her tone reportedly became clipped as she insisted, "This isn't about one player." But that denial rang hollow. It came across not as strong leadership, but as an administration in crisis, completely unwilling to take accountability. And the fans, many of whom are the narrative analysts we speak to on this channel, saw right through it. The response online was swift and brutal. Hashtags calling for the commissioner's job began to trend, turning her into the public face of the WNBA's perceived identity crisis. So when we filter out all the noise and connect all the dots, the picture becomes crystal clear. The empty seats at the 2025 WNBA Finals were not a referendum on the players. They were a direct result of a crisis in leadership. Aja Wilson's frustration wasn't the petty jealousy of a veteran overshadowed by a rookie. It was the righteous anger of a champion who had just starred in the most watched semifinals in league history, only to see her front office completely fumble the ball on the biggest stage. Her war wasn't with Caitlin Clark. It was, and still is, a war for respect. Respect for her own MVP status, for her fellow veterans, and for the championship product that the league's leadership proved incapable of promoting. They are the ones she blames for the humiliating disaster, and the data proves she was right. So what's your take on all this? Who is ultimately responsible for the empty seats and embarrassing optics of the WNBA Finals? Is it the fans who didn't show up, or the league's leadership who failed to give them a compelling reason to? Let us know your verdict in the comment section below. We are committed to digging deeper than the headlines to bring you the stories the establishment doesn't want told. If you believe in that mission, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on so you never miss our next investigation. And finally, if you know a fellow narrative analyst who only heard the surface-level drama, share this video with them. They deserve to be part of the real conversation.